Hello and welcome everyone. Today I want to return to a fascinating, complex and slightly controversial topic, PR. PR can be an emotional issue. Some of you encountered something like this.
I just completed a tournament where you get points for winning, but also the player with higher PR gets points. Though I won each of the matches, I did so with high, or bad, PR, so I never got the bonus points. Because of this I lost the tournament and didn't get to proceed, even though I was victorious for the actual matches.
Baloo feels cheated. He won all matches, but failed to get his just reward, because the computer thought he didn't play well enough. But I won. What better proof is there?
The fact that you won doesn't mean you played the right moves.
Bagheera tries to explain that luck led to the wins, not skill.
I agree with you 100%. Sports/games are decided by who wins.
Mowgli agrees 100% with Baloo. Games are decided by who wins. PR is educational, but should not count.
You're correct in saying PR is a stat.
Colonel Hathi agrees that PR is a stat. It's like adding the number of attempted free throws to the ones you actually made. Not a bad idea, actually. I would love to see it in action every time Draymond Green enters the game.
PR can be won on luck also. The weaker player could just end up with easy decisions or on plays where really had no idea could get lucky by guessing correctly.
King Louie chimes in, saying PR can come through luck too, by having easier decisions.
The mathematically best decision isn't always the right decision. Mathematically best decisions do not account for the fact that your opponent is a real live human being. If I am playing an aggressive opponent, I might play a role differently than I would if he wasn't aggressive.
Shere Khan says that PR punishes players who adjust to the opponent. That is, take a small hit now for greater gains later. Mathematically best moves are for sissies who can't handle the real world. And so on and so on. And it's not just random Reddit users. Giants and mathematics professors also lament over being punished for a no-double that opponent took, and also suggest making suboptimal moves that might gain a few easy decisions down the line. Jungle kind are unhappy. They want their pure, no-nonsense home back. And who can blame them? Still, only Backgammon Galaxy has totally embraced PR, and most tournaments are win-only anyway, even the long-gone ones on Galaxy before the site evaporated in a puff of marketing. So, apart from dislike, what's the fuss? Is PR really just a stat? I don't buy it. If anything, it's the opposite. PR is a sum of tens or hundreds of little stats, while the win-loss is just a single lump of stat. You need tens of thousands of wins-losses to reliably estimate the skill difference between two players. You need 500,000 wins-losses to get to ±5 elo points of the true value. So a win is just an arbitrary checkpoint on a continuum of games played. Now, what about adjusting to opponent or changing your play to get more decisions? I already mentioned in previous videos that changing the scoring method creates a new game. Usually a very similar game, but tactics will change. And getting a point for winning the PR battle is a unique scoring method. Unique because the optimal strategy in this new game is so amorphous. Do as this unknowable bot does and add those specific settings to boot. Every other bot or human, even the same bot using different settings, is at a huge disadvantage playing against this almighty judge, because no one can ever win the PR battle against it. So yes, you lose equity by not following the bot recommendations, but this is the price for playing in this format. And that is the real issue, cost versus benefit. PR changes the game. That is the cost, but is it useful enough to justify the price? I think it is. PR has very little effect on gameplay, so it's worthwhile, even if the benefit is small. Let me explain. How do you best play a win plus PR game? I see nothing better than playing the best moves and the best cube actions you can. Trying to adjust your game to get more decisions while not losing equity is far more difficult than just playing well. Same for trying to steer the game into a more difficult territory. Even a great player will struggle to know when and where to make suboptimal moves, which might later lead to a better PR against a weaker or a stronger opponent. If your decision making can handle this kind of complexity, then your vanilla play is good enough. This argument works for any kind of adjustment people mention. And in any case, just correctly estimating the strength of your opponent and the types of errors she's likely to make is incredibly hard. So in the end, it boils down to whether win plus PR is better than win alone for the task at hand, be it awarding points in a tournament or ranking players. And that's what we should investigate, the practical usefulness of PR. And by PR, I mean performance rating in general, not XGPR. I, for example, never used XG. I hate Windows and worked on Unix and Linux machines for the past 40 years. Heck, I spent years developing GNU-BG because Snowy 2 was gates only, and I wanted to annotate my games. And XG is not batch friendly anyway. So my investigations will use ZR, performance rating based on ZP, GNU-BG zero ply. Go ahead and shudder and laugh all you like. The single vital requirement for PR systems is that the professor knows more than her students. And that's certainly the case here. ZP is 110 ELO points stronger than her best disciple. The rest is details, like how to count the number of decisions and how to normalize the lost match equity in each match score so that the values can be meaningfully averaged. Those details matter in small ways, but overall, if done right, the big picture will stay the same. So let's examine some ZR properties, and hopefully you'll agree that ZR is a good proxy for performance. And since everybody talks about Mochi's or Michi's or Darwin's PR average, let's make sure it strongly correlates with player strength. And luckily ZR does so in spades. Here's a graph of ELO to min ZR, based on games played by 13 botheads, whose games are the basis of all ZR results we shall see today. 74 ELO points correspond to 1 ZR point. Very nice and tidy. But I must stress, those numbers are arbitrary and depend on where the ELO center is and the scaling factor I choose. And my choices were aimed to make ZR compatible with the de facto norm. The lead bothead, which is rated 930 in my system, is rated around 950 by GNU-BG. And GNU-BG's Snowy error rates and ZRs are similar. In this particular 7-point match, 3.5 and 1 correspond to 3.5 and 1.8 ZR. So far so good, but averages are just the beginning. ZRs can fluctuate wildly, so we need to examine their distribution. Here's a ZR distribution of 2 random botheads, based on 10,000 5-point matches. ZR seems to match a gamma distribution nicely, which makes mathematical sense. If individual errors are from an exponential distribution, then their mean, the ZR, will be gamma distributed. And human PRs I collected from a recent high-quality candidates tournament also seem to follow the same shape. Alas, there's one slight problem with this ad hoc theory. It's wrong. ZR is not gamma distributed. But let's leave this technical detail for now and focus on the factors that might affect your ZR. Does it matter whom you play? And what about match length? And whether your opponent played better or worse than you? And whether you won or lost? The answer basically is no, yes, yes, and yes. While your ZR has a specific range and shape, all match-specific circumstances have an effect. It's fascinating, which is good, but also makes it extremely hard to model. Match length dependence is not surprising. The ELO to ZR figure we just saw is for 1-point matches. Here's a figure for match lengths 1 to 15. And here it is for 1 to 9 points, without that pesky data. So, ZR for a 3-point match are higher than those for DMP, which makes sense, as 3-pointers involve cube decisions. And 5-pointers are yet higher, because all of us took a bad cube and got gammoned to get to Crawford after the first game. But 7, 9 and onwards are lower and basically identical. Really interesting. Seems to support what many experts instinctively or consciously know. 5-point matches are the hardest. And if you want to measure skill in a less volatile setting, 7-point matches are enough, and there's no need to go to 9 points or higher. And here is a figure showing the mean ZR of 4 bot heads when matched against the others. All 4, strong like green, with 3 to 4 ZR, or weak like orange, 15 to 16 ZR, play at about the same level against any other bot. So your level is not affected by whom you play, but how well they do in any specific match, because ZRs are correlated. Here are the ZRs of 2 players, 3-point matches in blue and 7-point matches in orange. And you can see the trend around the x equals y diagonal. Here is the same kind of figure of another pair, where one player is substantially stronger. In general, the larger the skill difference, the stronger the correlation. It's never high, but it's high enough to matter. Perhaps it's easier to see when we plot the mean ZR of x against the mean ZR of O over short intervals. Here xZR increases from 7 to 8, while OZR goes from 2 to 8. Notice that x and y ZRs are positively correlated. You might expect that one side playing better would lead to the other doing worse, but no. There is something in the game affecting both players, negatively or positively. Maybe it's that the game is short or long, maybe it's because the game had difficult positions or easy, I'm not sure yet. But it's something affecting both sides in the same way. And last but not least, what about winning and losing? Here's an histogram showing the player's ZR when she wins, in blue, and the ZRs when she loses, in orange. ZRs are always lower on average when winning. It should be obvious to anyone after a moment's thought. If ZR measure level of play, then a lower ZR mean better play, and so more wins. Otherwise, ZR don't mean what you think it means. So, the ZR average is a direct measure of skill. But specific ZRs are complex to model, because they are entangled with match length, the opponent's ZR, and who won. And so it took a while, but I managed to build a model, which lets us look at 2 practical usages. First, I only recently started playing at Heroes. I played around 40 matches, and my rating will probably take much longer to stabilize. But it will happen way before I master the user interface. Any system keeping track of ratings has this problem: how to settle newcomers as quickly as possible without annoying existing users. Heroes uses experience, when newcomers get larger rewards and punishments than established users. Here is an obvious, simple and effective idea. Let newcomers play 10 7-point matches against a rating bot, and use a ZR average as a starting point. Let the bot be rated, say, 1700, to make the process less frustrating. Here's one example, where I tried this method on a 1570 bot head. In blue you can see what happens when estimating using just the wins. The variance is huge. But the rating from ZR, shown in orange, gets you to within 60 ELO points in just 10 games. I think something like this will be a great improvement. Second, I recently participated in a tournament to select the 6 members of the Oceania team for the 2023 WBIF Online World Team Tournament. It was a modified Swiss, 20 players, 6 rounds, random draw for the first round, but from there the participants were graded by the number of points won, one for the match win and one for the PR win, and then mean PR to break any ties. From round 2 onwards, number 1 played 20, number 2 played number 19, and so on. And from round 3, players with PR greater than 10 got eliminated. The method for selecting the team was never specified, in the hope that it will be obvious. This is not a common format, so we can use the ZR model to get a feel how it does. I will not bore you with the detailed analysis because, it will bore you. Instead, Let's look at the results from 5 sets of simulations I ran. Each set contains 1000 runs of the tournament with the same 20 players, rated between 1550 and 1900, about 4 to 10 ZR, which roughly reflects the group of players we had. For each set I listed 3 numbers, each of them showing the total ELO loss of the selected team. That is, the total ELO rating of the best 6 players minus the total ELO of the 6 players selected. In the first column we see the loss from picking the top 6 players of the Swiss, that is when ordered by combined points and min ZR. The second column is the loss when ignoring the points and selecting by ZR min only. And the third column shows the loss when simply using 6 rounds of random pairings, no Swiss but no repeats, and again picking by ZR only. The results are very clear. You get a much better team when ignoring points, and the fancy format is no better than random pairings. But having a fancy selection procedure looks more impressive, so the organizers probably got less complaints from the players. Time to wrap up. Hopefully I managed to convince you that performance measures are the best direct estimators of skill, a useful and powerful tool, and certainly not just a stat. But we barely touched on the complex issue of using performance measures to score matches and tournaments. Opinions differ. Some people like the high luck factor backgammon is famous for, others eager to reduce it as much as possible. 2 valid viewpoints. But both sides should be aware of the facts before debating if and how to incorporate PR into the culture. It's always nicer to upgrade mere opinions to informed ones. I plan to further expand the topic, and the next obvious target is the ELO system. So get ready, Galaxy. Here we come.